welcome to Financial Femme. If this is your first time that you are watching me, then be sure to comment hello. And if we're friends, be sure to say hello as well. And if we're not friends on social media, be sure to connect with me on Facebook at Zara Kaku, as well on Instagram at Zara Kaku. I love to connect with all of you guys and get to know you guys better. A few weeks ago, I was talking about something that happened in my life personally, and I really wanted to share with you guys a little strategy that I often recommend to my clients to use for debts and situations that kind of come up that are similar to this. So, for me, a few weeks ago, an opportunity came up for me to make a purchase for my business where it was going to advance my business. However, it wasn't really in my plan. It wasn't really in how I was running things or the way that I really had things set up with my finances. And I do have an emergency fund, but it's marked for emergencies. I've got funds set aside for travel. I've got funds set aside for all my other big goals. And so really I struggle with the fact that when I have things set up as my priorities, and then if I have to dip into those, I really do struggle with it because that money was really earmarked for that. And this is a strategy I teach to my clients as well, because when your money has goals and priorities attached to it, you're less likely to spend that money and use it frivolously. And having different bank accounts and naming those bank accounts with the goals that you want for them. And the main one usually is an emergency fund. And that's for emergencies, like big emergencies, if your furnace goes or if your car breaks down or things like that. And in my head, that's what that is for, the emergency fund. And then I've got in my investment account, but I have a travel investment account and I have retirement investment account and all of that. And now I'm thinking I should probably have a business account where I set money aside for business expenses, but I don't have that right now. And so this scenario came up where I knew I needed to do this purchase to further my business, but it was also funds were not there. And when we often find ourselves in these situations where we might need to do something that the money is not there for, and it could be an emergency, it could be dealing with a family member's health or anything like that. And really, a lot of the times, people go into a lot of debt for these types of things. And so there is a strategy that I like to incorporate with my clients, and it's a good strategy to use. Now, the first thing I want to caution you on is that if you struggle with debt and if you struggle with the concept of debt, this may not be the best strategy for you. As well as if you're somebody who uses debt as a crutch, then this may not be the best strategy for you. However, there's no shame, there's no guilt in whatever it is and whatever way that you're going to use this. I just want to caution you on that. So the strategy is many credit cards out there, they will, when you apply for the new credit card, they give you a balance of account transfer, and they offer that at a lower percentage or even at 0%. Now, what happens with that is that you tend to, if you're going into debt, then you're paying 18 or 20% interest over a long period of time. And that piece that you could have paid for cash, but you didn't have cash for, ends up costing you way more in the long run because interest is adding up. As well as it adds a lot of stress into your life as well. And so this is a great strategy to use for those times. You can get a credit card or look up your current credit cards and see if there is a balance of account promote. I had a credit card that I don't really use. And so I called the company and I found out that they did have a balance of account transfer on there. And what it was 0% for the next 12 months. Okay, so I get to put something on this credit card and transfer it on there. And I have 12 months to pay it back, which is great, especially when you've got things that are happening and you're in a pinch. It's a great little strategy to be able to use, and you're not paying interest for those 0 months. Now, what most people do is that they transfer the money onto that new credit card, and then they forget about it. And that's where you end up into trouble because you've gone 12 months without paying it, or maybe you're paying just the minimum on that credit card and you haven't really taken advantage of the fact that you've got 0% for this period of time. So what I did is I transferred the amount onto this credit card. I knew I had 12 months to pay it off. And I set up an automatic payment from my bank account when my pay comes in automatically to this bank account. Now, I want to have this paid off within 4 months. So I set it up, took the amount, divided it by 4, and that's how much I'm going to be transferring when my paycheck comes through so that I can get through it. The other step that I did was I also created a reminder in my phone for 1 year from now to remind me that, hey, you've got to make sure your credit card is paid off to 0 or else you're going to start paying interest. And so these are some little strategies that you can use and ensure that you're paying something on a monthly basis. And sometimes when you've got a big lump sum that you have to pay for something like medical, or maybe something really major happened, or maybe there's a trip that's fallen into your lap that you really have to go to, but you just don't have the funds for right now, but you really want to go. It's going to be a big bucket list item trip for you. This is a great strategy that you can use for this event. And what it is, then you can take advantage of the 0% for the certain amount of time, but you always want to make sure that you've got your strategy set up in place and you've got a payment plan set up so that you are making payments on this, and it's smaller payments, but at least you're making payments so that you can get rid of this debt by the 12-month period. Now, sometimes what happens is that you may not be able to get rid of the debt completely in the 12-month period. So you could do another balance of account transfer. People do that a lot of the times. You can do that. Or maybe take on the interest for a small period of time, but it might be a smaller balance that you're taking the interest on. This is a great strategy for debt management sometimes, even if you have a lot of debt right now and it's just really getting overwhelming for you to keep up with those payments as interest rates are rising. I know that creditors are getting pretty harsh out there. They're raising interest rates, they're charging penalties, all of that sort of stuff. Then it might be a good idea to look to see if any of your credit cards offers a balance of account transfer and for how long, and if you can get it at 0% or very little interest. Okay, so that is a little strategy you can use to help yourself get out of debt. Or if there is a purchase that you've got coming up that you need to do and there's no cash for, or to help really fund certain things that are coming up and you don't have the cash for it. So it's a great way for you to use that in order to float yourself for a little bit of time. So I hope you enjoyed this little strategy, and I would love to hear if you've ever tried it before, or if you've ever used it in the past, or if this is the first time you're hearing of it and maybe you are having some issues. If you have any specific questions, be sure to ask me. I'm always willing and happy to answer them. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in my next video.